The opening hole at this illustrious course is a 467-yard par 4 dogleg to the left. The hole swings round by a low fence and over a small copse of trees, which makes your view of the green rather difficult. The brave player, however, can play over these obstacles and go for the target, providing they're prepared to play their second shot from heavy rough. The sensible player, however, will aim down the fairway between the two bunkers. A successful drive onto the fairway should set you up nicely for your second shot. Should you get on the green, good luck, because that is relatively flat. But beware of the small bunkers guarding the approach line from the front and the deep bunker hiding behind the green. They're both waiting to get you. The 11th is a short par 4 of 291 yards, offering a good opportunity to get below par. This is another hole that requires you to play over a stream, but this shouldn't prove to be too much of a problem. You should clear the water hazard from the tee easily, leaving a short pitch up to the green. Once on, you can breathe easily, as the green is quite flat, but it has two small cheeky bunkers, one left and one right, that catch any stray shot. The 12th, a par 3 of 216 yards, a gentle par 3, but you shouldn't relax. It looks pretty straightforward from the tee, but once you're on the green, it's a different kettle of fish. It's set at the bottom of a deep vale, and you can barely see it from the tee. Two bunkers guard the small green left and right, but you can run in through the front. The 13th, 475 yards of par 4. A long par 4, a demanding hole, and again visibility is a problem. The opening drive is very difficult, and caution is advisable as you're playing a blind shot. From the tee, you need to find the optimum landing area, which lies hidden at the bottom of a deep lateral gully. There's a nasty bunker waiting to trap any wayward shot. Even if you make it to the fairway, you still face a tough second. The green is very small and surrounded on three sides by water, with deep bunkers set in the front and behind. Fortunately, the green itself is relatively flat. Aim your second shot for the centre front edge of the green, which should leave you well placed for a relatively easy putt. Fourteenth, 323 yards of par 4. Well, it may be short, but it's no walkover. This hole plays up the side of a fairly steep hill. The fairway curves around in a strong S shape up to a raised green. An extremely deep bunker prevents you playing straight at the green, so aim your opening drive down the right-hand side. The other bunker sitting on the far right can collect any ball that's overhit. The green itself rises sharply and has a pronounced slope running down from the left into a deep bunker set in on the right. The 15th hole is an intimidating par 3 of 212 yards with large bunkers. A total of 3 surround the green. The green itself is very large, but so long as you land somewhere front of centre, you'll be safe. The large green, though, makes putting difficult, particularly if you're a long way from the flag. The green itself is quite sloped. and long putts rarely run straight, so take your time, have a good look around, make sure you've got the right line and pace. The 16th, 403 yards of par 4, picturesque par 4. The fairway is generously wide along most of its length, but it narrows between two bunkers fairly early on, but these are quite easily driven over to the wide area beyond. The fairway runs over a small hill about halfway along its length, from which you have a good view down to the green. There is a small bunker covering the front right approach of the green, which slopes left to right towards a much deeper bunker. The green, however, flattens out towards the rear. The 17th hole, the last of the par 3s at 233 yards. But really it should offer no great difficulties. 2 iron of wood should be used, aim for the centre of the green, that's the theory anyway. The green itself is large and forms a shallow bowl, so it's easy to stay actually on the green. There are 3 sets of bunkers round and about, but these are well away from the playing area, so you really have only yourself to blame if a poor approach is made. The final hole, the 18th, 513 yards a short, par 5. From the tee, you drive for the centre of the fairway as it curves between 2 bunkers. Be very wary of the bunker on the left. It's very long and hugs most of the left side of the fairway. Your second shot should take you over the ridge that crosses the fairway to the raised green. There's a deep bunker hiding in the front of the green which will catch any ball that bounces off the back-facing slope. Another bunker is positioned behind the green to punish an overhit pitch. The second hole is a long par 3 of 238 yards. The major hazard is the lake that sits behind the exposed green. The green slopes down to the water, making life pretty difficult. There are deep bunkers both left and right, and the margins of the fairway, well, pretty narrow in front, but unless you make a bad mistake, they shouldn't come into play. From the tee, try and drive straight for the front of the large green. Try and avoid the slope by the front bunker. Aim to land on the upper edge. This should keep you out of those dark waters. The third hole is a 541-yard par 5 across a shallow valley. From the tee, try and drive straight down the middle of the fairway directly towards the green. This should keep you clear of the fairway bunkers and set you up nicely for the second shot. There's a small lake visible to the left, but it offers no real hazards. However, finding a safe landing on the fairway is more of a problem. 3 deep bunkers are awaiting the unwary. The green itself sits at the top of the valley between 2 bunkers left and right. Steep slopes either side will catch anyone's stray shot and take them down into the sand. fourth hole is a fine par 3 of 182 yards. From the tee, play for the right side of the green. That's the widest part. A long iron will reach the green from the tee, but having reached, you must stay on, which is easier said than done. A large bunker separates the green from the fairway. Avoid this at all costs, or you will face a tough recovery shot. You could be in there all day. The green slopes from front to back, where another deep bunker hides in wait. The fifth hole, a good par 4 of 421 yards. It looks very flat from the tee, but don't be fooled. There's a sharp crease, a drop, a little gully that runs down the fairway and hides 2 bunkers, both of which are quite deep. Rather like Colditz, difficult to escape from. Try and place your drive between these 2 bunkers. The green is large and fairly flat, but there's a small bunker hiding at the back. But this really only comes into play when the flag is set at the back of the green. The sixth hole is a good par 4 of 432 yards, and like the previous hole, a large bunker cuts the fairway in half, and once you're in there, it's difficult to get out. Playing up the right-hand side, aiming to get as close as you can to the bunker, gets you closer to the green and sets you up nicely for your second shot. But you can roll down into the deepest part of the fairway bunker. If you're of a slightly more nervous disposition, you can play down the left-hand side with a shorter club, but this leaves you with a much more difficult second shot. The green is flat, small, 2 bunkers set left and right, so aim for the front edge and you'll be home and dry. The seventh is a short par 4 of 280 yards and provides a good opportunity for a birdie. The fairway is narrow, but there's a little stream runs down the left-hand side, and although it's picturesque, it can catch many a stray ball. There's a large bunker sitting on the right-hand side which waits to swallow up if you go in that direction, so caution is required. Only 1 bunker guards the green, and that's at the rear left. The green itself is pretty generous. Go for it. The eighth is a par 4 of 410 yards, which doglegs severely to the right after the point where a small stream divides the fairway. It's possible to drive straight across the stream to the second portion of the fairway. There's a large bunker sitting on the left of the green. Another hides in a deep hollow just in front, but also beware the third bunker that hides behind that. If you aim your second shot down the right side of the green, you'll be in good shape. The ninth hole is the longest on the course, a par 5 of 558 yards. The fairway meanders slightly right before straightening out. 2 bunkers squeeze the first part of the fairway, but these can be cleared quite easily with a good tee shot. The fairway rises slowly towards the green, which is surrounded by 3 deep bunkers. It's a difficult green with slopes everywhere, so a safe landing from any approach can never be guaranteed. You've got to judge things according to the conditions. This green, like the weather, is very unpredictable. The 10th is a good par 4 of 374 yards, where water poses the greatest hazard. I really like this hole, it's very challenging. The fairway is bordered down the right side by a small lake, and then a stream runs down from this lake, cutting across the fairway, so separating it from the green. From the tee, it's not possible to clear the stream, so aim to lay up on the fairway where it flattens out. Easier said than done. Make sure you avoid the bunker on the left. The green itself is fairly flat and guarded by 2 bunkers, neither of which is terribly deep. The second hole is a good stiff par 4 and introduces the other feature of this glorious course, the island fairways. You drive across the stream to the middle of the fairway, which is situated on an island itself. You'll need concentration and accuracy to avoid the 2 bunkers on either side. Once safely on the island, the hard part's pretty well over, and it should be fairly straightforward from there on to the green. The third hole, a par 4 of 403 yards. Now this hole looks harder than it is, but an accurate drive from the tee sets you up for an easy second shot to the green. A large bunker stops you playing a direct line to the flag, so aim up the right side, but beware of the next bunker that catches any ball hit too far. There are 2 bunkers around the green, which is fairly flat and large, so shouldn't cause you too many problems. The 5th, a par 4 of 374 yards, a hole which continues the trend of wide fairways but with multiple hazards. From the tee, drive down the centre of the fairway. The major hazard is a long bunker on the right. Your second shot is an easy pitch to the medium-sized green. There's a large bunker on the left and the marsh comes in round the back, so take care. The 7th, a par 4 of 485 yards, and for some players this will be the hardest challenge offered by this difficult course. 3 islands you've got to negotiate. Which one you drive for depends on your tee position, but if you overstretch yourself then things can really start to go wrong. From the pros tee, it's a good idea to play onto the right island, avoiding the 2 bunkers if you can. If you manage to get your first shot on target, then you have another shot across marsh and water to the island green, which features 2 more bunkers. At 660 yards, the par 5/9 is the longest hole on the course, and if its length wasn't enough, it also plays slightly uphill and is surrounded by marshland and water. Although it's not an island hole, the fairway is divided into 3 sections by bands of rough. From the tee, try and drive your ball so it stops before the first band, avoiding the bunker on the left-hand side. For the second shot, you need to lay up at the end of the second section of fairway. This will leave a short pitch over the last band of rough to the split level green, which has 3 bunkers evenly spaced around it. The 11th is a short par 4 of 297 yards, and is characterized by large bunkers surrounding the green. The bunkers are well set back from the playing area, so you can afford to be brave. Aim for the pin, regardless of its position on the green. The green is a large split level affair, so you can leave yourself a difficult putt if you land too far away, so accuracy is paramount here. The 13th, another par 4, this time 423 yards. It's best described as one long bunker with some small bits of fairway tucked in amongst it, so you'll need to keep your wedges handy. If you're brave or skilled enough, you can play over the first island of fairway to the second. Mere mortal players consider playing short, aiming to lay up at the end of the first section of fairway. The second shot is no less difficult. The ocean of sand that borders the fairway cuts in front of the small green, and steep slopes will catch any ball that rolls offline. The 15th is a fairly short par 4 of 351 yards. There are 5 large bunkers to contend with, though saying that, the fairway is rather wide and forgiving. Drive up the middle of the fairway and the ball should roll nearly up to the front of the green. The green is large, so it's important to get in a good position relative to the flag, otherwise you could easily 3-putt. The 17th gives you a chance to relax. Just 316 yards, a par 4, situated on a wide peninsula that juts right out into the marsh. There are 2 bunkers situated left and right of this wide fairway, but they're unlikely to come into play unless you hook or slice your drive badly. The green is very large and multi-leveled, and there are lots and lots of slopes, so you need to land your ball near the pin to make putting easy. The 4th hole is a difficult par 3, but will reward the brave and accurate golfer who drives to the generously sized green. It has 3 bunkers, and if that wasn't enough, it's surrounded on all sides by rushes or water. Plenty of hazards to catch a straight shot. A 3-wood playing to the centre front edge of the green should leave you with a straightforward putt. The 6th is another island hole, a par 4 of 393 yards, and it's fraught with danger. The prevailing wind on this hole makes it possible to drive straight over the middle island, straight for the green, but this is a very difficult shot that requires as much luck as skill. A far safer approach is to play onto one island, although watch out for the 2 nasty bunkers put there to catch you out. From the island, your next shot should take you to the long, narrow green. This is a difficult shot as the green is bordered on the left and right by deep bunkers. At 306 yards, the par 4 8th sits alongside a large lake situated on the right-hand side of the fairway. A massive bunker runs the length of the hole and guards the left of the fairway. Problems if you hook or slice on this hole, so take care. From the tee, drive straight down the middle, and if you're lucky, you may roll onto the green. A small bunker on the right of the green should easily be avoided. The 10th hole is a 494-yard par 4 which follows a high ridge overlooking the edge of the marsh to the right. Say goodbye to the marsh for now. You won't have to face it again until you reach the 16th. However, a large bunker near the first landing area, like an alligator, will quite happily swallow anything that goes near, so watch it. From the tee, drive left of this bunker, avoiding the steep slope. The second shot should take you to the raised small green, where bunkers hide at the right and back. At 412 yards, the 12th is an average length par 4. It doglegs slightly to the left up by the green, and in windy conditions can be very difficult. The fairway narrows between 2 bunkers around the landing area, so aim to the left side of the middle fairway bunker. Yet another bunker sits further down the fairway on the right-hand side. The approach line to the green is guarded on either side by large bunkers. If your drive stays on the fairway, then the second shot to the green is relatively easy. The green itself is large and has a lot of undulations. This is tricky putting. Hole 14 is a par 5 of 525 yards and features no less than 8 deep bunkers, the largest of which divides the fairway in half, leaving a massive area of sand to cross. A small patch of fairways offers an alternative landing for the brave, but most players should aim to lay up on the large section of fairway. The green is reasonably large, slightly sloping and backed by another large deep bunker. Aim for the front edge and let your ball roll on. .414 yards is the 16th hole, a par 4, and it brings us back down the hillside to the dreaded marsh. Don't be tempted to drive straight for the green. Instead, try to stop your ball at the end of the right side of the fairway. From here, the second shot will take you to the green, but the green slopes away in all directions from a sort of central mound. This means it's very hard to stay on. The green sits isolated, and with its 3 protecting bunkers on a small island and another 3 scattered round and about the small fairway, I can tell you it's well protected. And so to the final hole, the 18th, 553 yards of par 5. Marshes and a stream define the left border of the fairway. Another 2 large areas of marsh lie on the right-hand side. From the tee, drive straight for the green across that large lateral bunker. Try to hold back a little so you avoid rolling into the 2 bunkers that jut into the fairway from the left. The mightiest of hitters might reach this green in 2, but for mere mortals they're probably going to be left with a shot of up to 100 yards. Beware, a large bunker covers the approach, so you're forced to play directly to the green, and the green itself is quite ridged, so care must be taken as the facing slopes on the front edge can spin your ball back into the bunker down there on the front. Hole 1 of this exciting and challenging course, a par 5 of 595 yards. A hole which gently introduces us to this course's special hazards. There are large areas of unplayable marsh filled with rushes and divided by lakes and streams, which altogether make it a tough course to conquer. Fortunately, the fairways are wide, which makes things slightly easier on what would otherwise be a course with the odds stacked very much against you. On this hole, you need to play your opening drive down the centre of the fairway, keeping clear of the long bunker that faces you. In addition, there are 3 more bunkers standing between you and the enormous green. When you play to the green, you will need to be aware of the placing of the flag. Don't leave yourself too long a putt on this large, undulating surface. On paper, the second hole sounds simple enough, 366 yards, a par 4. From the tee, it looks even simpler. Sadly, for those playing it, it is not. Wander down the fairway and you suddenly notice a deep gully that cuts across it. 1 large bunker defines the left side of the fairway and creeps across to the middle of another larger area of sand bordering the right. Ignore the gully, pretend it's not there, and drive straight over, straight for the green. From there you have a simple pitch up to the pin. Take note though, small bunker on the left and lake that borders in at the back. The third, a par 3, 236 yards. A veritable ocean of sand separates the hole from the tee. You should select a long iron or a 3-wood and drive to the forward edge of the green. It slopes from back to front and your ball can easily roll back to the bunker. But it's a small green, so as long as you stay on, putting should be fairly straightforward. The fifth, a par 4, 293 yards, offers up one of the best opportunities for a birdie, but you must keep out of the very unforgiving bunkers. From the tee, hit straight for the green, keeping a line that takes you between the 2 bunkers bracketing the approach. There's another bunker behind the green to catch anything overhit. The 7th is a difficult par 3 of 219 yards. An extremely narrow strip of fairway surrounded by a wide expanse of sand, and it's difficult to stay on the green. Aim for the neck of the fairway, just where it meets the green. Try not to overdo it, as a deep bunker sits behind the green, ready to gobble up any stray shots. The 9th, 348 yards of par 4, and it's something of a relief after the earlier holes. A little breather can be taken here, but don't become complacent. A drive down the middle of the fairway to land between the two bunkers. There's plenty of room, so don't be timid. From there, it's a relatively easy shot to the green, but beware the bunkers, one left and the other one tucked in behind. The 11th is a par 4 of 366 yards, and like the 10th, has a very straight fairway, but is a much harder challenge due to the cluster of 3 bunkers that lie around the landing area. Drive down the right edge of the fairway to avoid these hazards. You'll need to stop your ball from going too far if you can't guarantee accuracy. The green is like an upturned saucer and very difficult to stay on. You need to play for the front left or the back right for the best position. The 13th is 492 yards, and this is the first hole where water comes into play. The fairway is wide where it needs to be. The all too familiar bunkers bracket the fairway. Another small bunker sits mid-fairway at a point where the stream cuts across, separating it from the green. Try and drive down the centre left of the fairway to avoid the central bunker. The second shot isn't too difficult, no special hazards, but watch the lake on the right. The green itself has one bunker on the left side, and of course that small lake on the right. Hole 15, 368 yards of par 4, plenty of bunker and water hazards peppering this hole. However, a good opening drive can see you very close to the green if you get the right bounce. From the tee, drive past the right of the large Y-shaped bunker that sits directly in front of you. Aim for that neck of fairway. The large bunker that forms the left of the fairway cuts in around the green and can catch a ball that should roll on too far, or indeed be too much to the left. The green is of good size and reasonably flat, so putting should be fairly straightforward. The 17th is a 471-yard par 4 which doglegs slightly left. It has a nice wide fairway, so your opening drive should, in theory, be quite easy. There's a small lake to the right of the fairway, and just past this a moderately sized bunker with another bunker that cuts into the fairway from the opposite side. Drive straight down the middle of the fairway, aiming slightly right of the green. Should you get a good lie, well, you can have a good crack at it in 2. The second shot is to a narrow green. There are deep bunkers left and right, and the surface slopes left to right into the largest of the 2 bunkers. You should play your ball, if you can, to the front edge of the green, allowing for the bounce and roll onto the flatter area towards the back. The fourth is a par 4 of 470 yards. The major hazard here are the small bunkers occupying the centre line of the fairway. You can drive down the left of the central bunker to get as close to the green as possible, but this approach can easily see you into a lot of trouble, as you can get caught in the bunker on the other side, the left edge of the fairway. It's a lot safer to play down the right, though this will leave you a slightly longer second shot. The second shot takes you over the second fairway bunker and should leave you nicely perched safely on the green. The green slopes right to left, so adjust your putts accordingly. The sixth, par 5 of 507 yards. There's a large sand-filled gully that runs from the left of the tee along the edge of the fairway before cutting across about halfway down its length. Aim to stop your tee shot short of this hazard, from where it may be possible to reach the green in 2. But there's a nasty bunker set in the middle of the fairway as you approach the green, so you should aim your shot away to the left of this, and from there it should be possible to roll your ball onto the green. But beware, another bunker sits behind to punish the overambitious. The eighth hole is 353 yards. It's dogleg sharply to the right and plays more like a hole of 400 yards. A large bunker sits in the corner of the fairway, so you can't play straight for the green. You must instead play around the fairway. From the tee, drive left towards the narrow neck of fairway where it passes between the 2 bunkers. It's a difficult shot, and you may feel safer laying your ball up short. The small green is raised and backed by a deep bunker. The surface, though, is quite flat. The 10th is a 461-yard par 4, and it has a distinctly straight and even fairway, which is bordered on both sides by bunkers. Another bunker sits in front of the low green to welcome the foolhardy. From the tee, try if you can to drive down the middle of the fairway. If you get a good one away, the longer hitters can certainly reach this green in 2. The green itself, well, it's medium-sized and flat, easy to putt. The 12th a par 3 of 223 yards, a difficult hole despite its size due to the bunkers set in the front and behind this narrow green. From the tee you should aim for the left or right edge and draw or fade your shot so that it swings into the green. The green slopes severely at the back and your ball can run off into the large bunker at the rear of the green. The 14th, 339 yards of par 4 tempts you to play for the green straight from the tee, but if you do, take great care. A large bunker occupies the direct line, so it's best to drive left to leave a safe bounce on for your second. The left side of the green drops off severely into a very large bunker. The bunker then skirts round the back of the green before cutting back in front. The 16th, the longest hole on the course, 626 yards. The hole doglegs slightly left and has a large T-shaped bunker set in the corner of the bend. There's a huge area of sand up the left-hand side of the fairway around an island of rough with a small copse of trees on it before cutting back in front of the green. From the tee, your opening drive should be fairly straightforward. Play down the middle of this wide fairway, but beware the fairway bunker on the right. Your second shot should take you up towards the green. Again, play down the middle. There are two bunkers guarding either side of the approach. And don't forget that lake which hugs in at the back of the green. This is a good three-shotter. The 18th, the final hole, 443 yards of par 4. It has a wide fairway, although a deep bunker sits mid-fairway, covering the ideal landing position. You can drive to the left or right of this bunker, although the right-hand side does get you closer to the green. The green itself sits on the other side of a wide expanse of sand. The green is almost square in shape and is bordered on three sides by more deep bunkers. It slopes down from front to back to a flatter area at the back. Your second shot should land on the front edge of the green, which would give you a good bounce in. But as everyone knows, certainly every golfer, things don't always go as you expect them to. This beautiful course opens up with a 530-yard par 5. Like most holes on this course, it picks its way across a scarred, sandy scrubland that is almost pure bunker. There is a small lake visible to the right of the fairway, but it really shouldn't come into play. Aim to land your first shot at the point where it narrows between the bunkers. This will leave you an easier second shot. Some people may indeed reach the green in 2, but most will need 3. Beware, there's a deep pot bunker in front of the green, which although small, is very difficult. And another nasty pair of sand traps bracket the green. The second hole is a very challenging par 3 of 235 yards. There's no easy option from the tee, and if you try to play onto the fairway to leave yourself a short pitch up to the green, you face as many hazards as the direct approach. The green stands on the edge of a large lake, and staying on the green when you get there is the hard part, as it's small and bordered front and rear by deep bunkers, and it has slopes that push you off into both of them. Third hole, 434 yards of par 4, bordered on both sides by water and is very exposed to the wind. You can ignore the wide stream on the right, but avoid the lake to the left, which lies quite close to the edge of the fairway. Playing down the right side of the fairway is sensible, as it will keep you clear of the bunker that sits up there near the lake. This bunker hides in a gully that cuts across the fairway. Use plenty of club to get across. Your second shot is to a small green. There are large bunkers behind and to the right, so play for the front left edge. The first of the par fives, the fifth, 513 yards. Pretty straight hole featuring two large lateral running bunkers that slice into the fairway from the left. There are three more bunkers placed around the green. A small lake sits on the right of the fairway and the gorse-covered mounds crowd in along the left. Drive to the right of this first lateral bunker. This will see you into a wide, flat area of fairway. You can then play your second shot up towards the small, round green. The bunkers on the right of it should pose no problems, but the large one behind is easy to find, so go carefully. Aim to land on the fairway in front of the green so that your ball rolls up and hopefully on. Hole 7 is a par 4 of 456 yards and juts out between two lakes. These are both set well back and shouldn't really come into play. However, the location of this hole exposes it to a lot of wind. The landing area for your opening drive lies next to a deep bunker on the right of the fairway, and a steep slope runs from the middle of the fairway, pushing you right into it. Another two bunkers lie between here and the smallish green. One of them nestles in the front edge. The green slopes down to meet this bunker, so aim your second shot to the left side. The ninth is a par 5 of 512 yards. From the tee, you play downhill to the stream that separates the green from the fairway. There are two bunkers jutting into the fairway, the first on the right, the second on the left. Play to get as far down as you possibly can if you want an easier shot towards the green. Should you fail to hit a big drive, it might be prudent and safer to play a small iron up to the end of the fairway before hitting over the stream and onto the green. The green is very exposed, having no fairway margin, so if you do roll off, there's no relief. You'll find your ball in rough or the bunker that's round the back. The 11th, a par 4, 464 yards. This hole again runs along the lakeside. Another small lake sits on the left-hand side of the fairway. Both bodies of water are close, so watch out. The fairway is wide enough, although a bunker sits in the middle of the fairway, covering the best landing area. Drive up the right side if you can to get as close to the green as possible. The second shot must carry over the bunker on the right to the small green. The 13th is a par 4 of 449 yards, and a lake and a high ridge come into play. The fairway is quite straight, and from the tee you can drive directly towards the green. A deep bunker sits next to the lake on the left. If you find it, you face a very difficult shot. Your second should see you onto the smallish green. There are 4 bunkers spaced evenly round and about, all of which are deep. The green itself is raised and domed. The 15th, the last of the par 3s, at 275 yards, a good one. Another lakeside hole with a large body of water bordering the right side. From the tee, the large bunkers sit either side of the fairway, but, well, they're clearly visible. Another bunker, though, hides behind the small green in a deep hollow. Drive down the middle of the fairway if you can to the front edge of the green and let the ball roll on safely. Be prudent. The 17th, 349 yards, a par 4 that takes us between the lakes. Like the others, this is very exposed to the wind. It has a vicious set of bunkers hiding within the ridges set down the right-hand side and another large bunker on the left. A total of 4 bunkers lie within the ridges. If you land there, you're in big trouble. Drive slightly down the left centre of the fairway, stray too far offline and you'll suffer. The green is raised and fairly large. There's also a bunker hiding behind the green, just waiting for you. Hole 4 is another par 3, this time 216 yards, and rather like the second, it sits on the lakeside but is a much easier challenge as it's got far fewer bunkers and a larger green. Also, it plays slightly downhill. The tees are on the hillside, the pro tee being set on the side of one of the course's gorse-covered mounds. Drive straight to the green, avoiding the bunker that sits on the front edge. There's also another bunker to the right, so it's safer to play for the left-hand side. The 6th, a par 4, 344 yards. It's nice and wide, but there are 2 large bunkers, one either side of the fairway. Your drive from the tee should land between these hazards. A stream runs behind the green till it meets the lake that runs along the right-hand side. The green slopes away to the back, but it's reasonably sized, so it's fairly easy to play onto without worrying too much about the putting. The 8th is a short par 4 of 325 yards, but what a dramatic setting. Perched in a natural bowl and surrounded by extremely thick gorse. There are large bunkers set left and right of this medium-sized green, and the fairway approach is quite narrow. Drive straight to the front of the green if you can. It's a split-level affair, so flag positions are very important when you plan your shot in. Remember, it's a par 4, so it may be a good idea, especially in bad weather, to just play onto the fairway and leave yourself a shortish pitch up onto the green for position. The 10th, 468 yards, a par 4 that doglegs gently away to the left. It runs downhill to the lakeside green, which is difficult to see from the tee due to the tree-lined hillside on the left. Drive down the middle of the fairway between the mounds. There's a bunker on the right, but it's far offline. A deep gully separates the fairway from the green and hides two bunkers. You need to play over these to the front edge of the green to be successful.
The 12th, a par 4, 345 yards. A fairly straightforward challenge with a wide fairway which narrows between two bunkers up towards the large green. If you get a good drive away between them, it's possible you'll leave yourself just a short pitch up to the green.
The 14th, a par 5, 525 yards, and it's the longest hole on the course. It runs along the top of a ridge, though it briefly dips across a valley in the middle. This depression hides a nasty bunker on the right side of the fairway. This crafty bunker is backed by steep, gorse-covered mounding. Further mounding lies to the left, squeezing the fairway between a narrow cleft. Don't drive straight at the green. Play instead to the left to avoid this bunker. Your second shot should take you out of the valley and up towards the green, which is quite small with bunkers set left and right, and it slopes up towards the back. The 16th, par 4, 372 yards. It doglegs slightly between two large ponds. The green is visible across the left pond but can't be reached from the tee. A long curving bunker occupies the corner of the dogleg. This forces you to take a wide route, avoiding another bunker out there on the right. Aim to the right of the corner bunker, but beware of running on into more trouble. Your second shot should see you safely on the large flat green. But be careful, another large bunker hides behind the green. And so, the final hole, 503 yards, a par 5, short par 5, returning alongside the lakeside and up to the clubhouse. From this tee, it looks an unremarkable hole, but it hides some nasty deep bunkers. Drive down the left side for maximum distance. This should keep you clear of the sand. Another 3 bunkers, however, lie around the back right of the green, all of them deep and difficult to play out of. Play your second shot to the right front of the green. There's an area of flat fairway that runs into the green, so landing short and rolling on is probably the best approach. Beware the deep bunker, though, at the back, as the green slopes into it and can channel a stray ball into its mouth. The first hole, 444 yards, a par 4. It's fairly simple opening challenge with nice wide fairway. Don't be tempted to drive direct for the green, as there's a large bunker covering the straight line. Instead, aim slightly right. There's another bunker on this side of the fairway, but that's easily avoided. Then the second shot to the green. Well, a fairly large and flat green, so take your time to examine the pin position and place your shot accordingly. second is a short par 4 of 325 yards, largely surrounded by water, but exposed to the wind. 3 bunkers all clustered where the fairway meets the large, gently rolling green. A really good drive from the tee could put you close to the green, but beware, 3 small fairway bunkers really shouldn't come into play unless you make a bad mistake. The third is a lakeside par 4 of 469 yards. The water hazard follows the left side of the hole. There's also a very deep bunker hiding halfway down the fairway, also on the left. 2 more bunkers sit either side of the green approach. Drive to the right of the closest bunker, but beware, the fairway slopes could carry you into the sand. From there you should get into a good position to put yourself on or very close to the green, and it should leave you at worst a short chip shot. The fifth is a slight dogleg of 439 yards and of course a par 4. It goes over a hill which hides the green from the tee, unless of course you're very tall. From the tee, drive for the middle of the fairway as it goes up the hill. A successful drive still leaves you a blind shot over the crest to the mid-sized green, which slopes away down the other side. Use a long iron to play to the neck of the fairway where it meets the green. The green's very difficult to putt on due to very severe slopes. Many a times the ball's gone sailing miles past the hole. The seventh's a 476-yard par 4. Its fairway is simple and straightforward, offering no special hazards or surprises. 2 bunkers sit in the bank where the fairway begins to rise up towards the green. Drive straight from the tee and you should end up just in front of this hazard. The green's in a shallow bowl on top of the bank, so once you're up top, it's fairly easy to chip on. The ninth hole is a long par 5 of 536 yards, a slight right-hand dogleg to the green. The corner of the fairway is occupied by a gorse-covered mound. 2 bunkers and a water hazard lie ahead. From the tee, aim over the first bunker into the middle of the fairway, but beware of the second bunker further up on the right. Ahead of you lies a large, rather forgiving green. The 11th is a par 4 of 411 yards and has a slight right-hand dogleg, although the green is visible from the tee. A small hill sits to the left side of the fairway, a lake and several gorse mounds lie on the right. From the tee, drive over the first gully and its bunker. Pick a line that falls between the 2 most distant bunkers. You won't reach them, don't worry. The second shot will require a short to long iron shot to a substantially sized and raised green. Another blind dogleg hole, the 13th, a par 4, 465 yards. A thick forest lies either side of the fairway. From the tee, aim to the right of the bunker, visible on the left. Beware the other bunker is hidden to the right. Also beware of the difficult fairway slopes. Your second shot will take you over the last fairway bunker up towards the small green, which has another bunker set in on the right side. You'll need a little wood or a big iron from here. The 15th hole is a very long par 3. Two large bunkers protect the green's approach. From the tee, well, you can hit anything from a driver to a 2-iron. Thick gorse bushes cover the top of the low mound set on the left-hand side of the fairway. A stream flows round and behind the green, presenting a hazard for anyone who plays in too strongly. A deep bunker lies to the left-hand side of the green, a green which is very small in size. It's some hole. The 17th, a par 3 of 214 yards, sits high above the stream that runs along the left-hand side. A bunker hides next to the green on the left also. The green is quite small and flat, but if you go too far, you'll find plenty of trouble. You'll certainly need a 3 or a 4-iron. This simple hole can make or break your score, so concentration is needed at all times. The 4th hole is another very straightaway hole, a par 4 of 452 yards that crosses 3 lateral gullies, which hide the hole's 4 bunkers. From the tee, drive between the bunkers that sit on either side of the fairway at the halfway point. Beware running into the furthest bunker on the left, it's a little devil. If successful, a good shot will see you onto this large flat green. Hole 6 is another blind tee shot, made much harder because it's a par 3 of 217 yards, so you'll be driving blind. There's a lake round the left-hand side of the fairway, and a stream from there snakes its way to the green. Also, there's a deep bunker on the left-hand side. From the tee, oh, you'll need a big iron, and for the shorter hitters, a little wood. This picturesque little hole is a 335-yard par 4 that sits right on the lake side. Only one bunker has it, and that's on the right. The lake follows the right side of the fairway before swinging round behind the green. From the tee, aim left of the bunker, but beware the slopes. A successful drive should see you very close to this large and forgiving green. The 10th is another blind tee shot, this time a par 4 of 362 yards that doglegs left around the hill. Drive to the right to the corner of the fairway. You can't play straight to the green without getting yourself into an awful lot of trouble. This is a very difficult shot, so take your time and don't try and cut the corner too tight. Use the bunker on the right-hand side of the fairway as a guide, aiming slightly to its left. An 8 or a 9 iron should see you to the green from a good fairway shot. The green is small and slightly raised. The 12th hole is a 340-yard par 4 and continues the blind theme of this course. The hole doglegs left behind the lightly wooded and gorse-covered hills. A narrow avenue tempts you to drive straight at the green over the hill. This is a very brave shot and not for the faint-hearted. A much safer option is to aim just left of the large fairway bunker, clearly visible from the tee. There's another bunker to look out for, which is sited left of this small sloping green. The 14th, 429 yards of par 4, and is one of the course's finest looking and offers some challenging play. The fairway snakes very slightly but can generally be treated as if it were straight. There are plenty of hazards though to overcome. Drive over the narrow stream to the left of the bunker visible on the right edge of the fairway. This is a difficult shot and requires much practice. The second shot, well, much more straightforward if you get a good lie. Two bunkers guard the green approach. Again, a medium to long iron should be perfect. The green is surrounded, however, by gorse-covered mounds. The 16th is a par 5 of 521 yards, played over the top of a gentle hill. And like many other holes on this course, that hill hides the green. Drive straight down the centre of the fairway, keeping clear of the bunker on the right. A fairway wood will take the second shot over the next 3 bunkers up towards the green. 2 of these bunkers squeeze the fairway to a narrow neck where it meets the green, which is quite small and very slopey. The 18th hole is a 378-yard par 4 that swings first left and then right behind a forested hill which hides the green from the tee. The drive from the tee is very difficult, played over a deeply sunken bunker, keeping left of the corner bunker. The slopes will try and carry you into the bunkers or back down the hill. Providing you get a good lie, your second shot is only a relatively short iron. This wonderful course in its tranquil setting opens up with a par 5 of 511 yards. This is a nice straightaway hole featuring 3 bunkers spaced along its length. The tee sits up on a bank that follows the left edge of the fairway. From the tee, drive down the middle, but where the 2 bunkers situated down the left, your second shot will either be a fairway wood or for the mighty hitters a 2-iron. That should see you very close to the green. Once on, putting is fairly straightforward. It's flat and unprotected. Second hole, 323 yards, a short par 4 fraught with hazards, in stark contrast to the opening hole. You must drive from the tee across a fairly wide lake to a sloping fairway bracketed by 2 large, deep bunkers. Don't be tempted to drive for distance. Instead, pick a nice, safe line, front center of the fairway, or you will surely end up in sand. Your second shot will be a short iron to the green over a bunker. The green is small, but beware, it slopes towards the bunker at the back and is there to catch the unwary. The third hole is a good par 4 of 444 yards, which curves slightly round to the right, but the corner of the curve is heavy with trees and you can't cut through it. Drive down the middle of the fairway, keeping away from the bunker on the left. The second shot must clear the large bunker that separates the green from the fairway. The green is quite small and backed by another deep bunker, which will catch any balls that are too strong. The fifth, a par 3 of 196 yards, which requires length and accuracy off the tee. The green is quite slopey and bracketed left and right by large bunkers. There's a lake on the left, but it's far enough away not to come into play. Aim over the right side bunker to a more generous landing area. The seventh's a very difficult hole indeed. It's only 300 yards and a par 4. It's bordered on the right by a lake and there's out of bounds running close down the left side. 2 bunkers protect the raised and very slopey lakeside green. A brave player may well try to go straight for the green, but this stands a very good chance of finding a green bunker or a watery grave. For safety's sake, aim left of the fairway bunker. Use a 2-iron or even a 5-wood. Then pitch up to the green. Aim, though, for the left side. The ninth is a straightforward par 4 of some 330 yards. The hole has 4 bunkers, the first of which sits on the left-hand side of the fairway and in all honesty shouldn't really come into play. The next bunker sited on the right is a danger. From the tee, drive straight for the centre of the green, remembering to adjust for wind. Beware the 2 final bunkers hiding at the back edge of the green. The 11th, another par 3, 185 yards. Two nasty bunkers protect the green. The largest forms the right edge of the fairway, the smallest the front edge of the green. From the tee, drive straight to the right-hand edge of the green for a maximum run-in. A 3 or 4 iron should be enough. The 13th drops sharply down the 371 yards to the green, making it a par 4. A large bunker runs from the fairway around the left edge of the green. A smaller bunker sits on the right edge. A large lake backs onto the green. Very pretty, but not easy by any means. Drive straight for the green, keeping as central a line as possible. Then pitch onto the green, but beware, the green slopes towards the lake. The 15th is the longest hole on the course, 525 yards, a par 5. A fairly wide lake splits the fairway in half. It's not possible to carry the lake, so play to the centre of the fairway and keep it short, aiming to run to a good position near the end. A small bunker sits on the left near the lake, so don't play up there if you can avoid it. The second shot takes you over the water to the second half of the fairway, and its cluster of 3 very difficult bunkers. Use a fairway wood to play up the right edge. This will leave you a shortish pitch onto the green. The penultimate hole, the 17th. 373 yards, a par 4, and a relatively easy hole if you manage to keep out of the bunkers. One of the bunkers runs along almost the whole of the left edge of the fairway. Another sits out on the right. The final bunker forms part of the right edge of the green. Try and drive straight down the middle of the fairway, but beware. Be mindful of any crosswind. If you don't, you could be in a bunker. The 4th, 506 yards, a really good par 5. A stream divides the fairway into 2 halves around the area where you would normally like to hit your tee shot. But play well short of the stream. Beware the bunker hiding to the left. Try a 3 or 4 iron for more control if necessary. The fairway slopes badly, so care must be taken that the ball doesn't roll all the way into trouble. The second shot even more difficult, even if you play from a good lie. You should hit maybe a 3 wood, aim well left of the bunker visible on the right edge of the fairway. You probably won't make the green, but as long as you stay clear of the 2 bunkers that lie ahead, you can pitch up and feel quite satisfied. Chip onto the green, but beware, it slopes strongly to the left. Putting will be yet another challenge. The 6 is a par 5 of just over 500 yards, and it's a fairly gentle challenge and perhaps a good opportunity to get under par. You could say a bit of a rest for the wicked. From the tee, aim just left and short of the fairway bunker visible on the right. This should keep you on the fairway and well out of trouble. For the next shot, well, you can either play a long iron or a fairway wood. Aim to the right side of the green, and let's hope the slope carries you on. The 8th is a pleasant 221-yard par 3. There are 2 bunkers along its short fairway, but unless you make a mistake, they shouldn't come into play. You can drive straight to the moderately sized green between the slope away to the right. Try a 3-wood or even, for the big hitters, a 2-iron. The 10th hole is a par 4 of 293 yards, dropping downhill from the raised tee until it meets the stream that runs behind the green. A large bunker forms the left edge of the fairway. Another much smaller bunker squeezes the fairway from the right side. The green is slightly raised. Drive over the right bunker to the front edge of the green. Beware though, it slopes strongly to the rear. The 12th hole, 359 yards of par 4 that plays sharply uphill, reducing the effective range of your shots. 3 bunkers mark the steps in the fairway, which rises in 3 plateaus. The first bunker on the right can really be ignored. However, the second, which nearly cuts the fairway in half, cannot. It covers much of the landing area, forcing you to play short. Aim up the right edge and you might be able to run alongside if you're accurate enough. The second shot must clear 1 more bunker set up at the front edge of the green. The 14th hole, 312 yards, takes us back up the hill. Oh, time to put the old legs to a test. 312 yards seems much more. 2 bunkers run diagonally uphill and from left to right. Drive over the first bunker on the left, up the left-hand side of the fairway. A good drive should roll towards the green, leaving you a simple pitch and pretty straightforward putting. The 16th, another par 3, 190 yards. It's a simple looking hole, but it runs slightly uphill to a smallish green. 2 bunkers squeeze in at the fairway approach. You'll need a 4 or 5 wood and play between these bunkers to the front edge of the green. The surface is very slopey, so don't be fooled. The final hole, a 231-yard par 3, and not an easy finish. Although there are only 2 large bunkers, they are large. The first one, the largest one, follows the left edge of the fairway. The second bunker is set in the front edge of the green. No fancy tactics, but it'll take a good hit to get it on the green. For some, even a driver. But then, if you drive straight and find yourself on the green, walk off with a 3, you'll think it's a piece of cake. The first hole of this fine Hawaiian course is a long par 4 of 486 yards that looks deceptively short. The drive from the tee is relatively simple with a large, wide landing area and no hazards to catch you out. The second shot carries over 2 bunkers that guard the green approach. The green itself is small, backed by a water hazard and sloping towards the lake. The 17th, the longest hole on the course, a challenging par 5 of 531 yards. Water defines the right edge, also a small copse of trees sits behind the bunker on this edge. Another bunker sits mid-fairway. The third and final bunker sits up the left near the green. Drive up the left side if you can. For your second shot, well, you'll certainly need a fairway wood. Aim slightly right to keep away from the far right bunker. The first hole on this superb course in the US of A is a 467-yard par 4. It looks pretty straight, and isn't it beautifully manicured? But that's a characteristic of this course. The first drive is between a huge row of trees, a wonderful avenue. The course is all about driving, so aim down the middle and give it all you've got. You might reach the green in 2. 2 bunkers cover the approach, and if you don't reach in 2, you're only left with a short pitch to this large undulating green. The third is a par 3 of 273 yards. Relatively simple if you can hit it straight. There are no hazards to concern you, but a large bunker sits to the right and a smaller one on the left. Use your driver, aim slightly left of centre, but beware of the wind on this hole. Give it a good whack and trust in the Lord. The fifth hole is a short par 4, some 295 yards, and it sits in a hollow between dense trees, so it's quite sheltered from the wind. 2 bunkers either side of the fairway, but really they shouldn't come into play. The largest hazard is the bunker that sits at the back of the green. Use your driver, tee it up, aim straight down the middle and give it a whack. Hole 7, a par 4 of a mere 297 yards and features a very small green. The left bunker is large and deep, following most of the left-hand side of the fairway. Another bunker sits up near the green on the right. Drive up the right side of the fairway is my advice for the best approach in. We're at the 9th. We're halfway around the course. Par 4, 373 yards, and this takes us slightly downhill back to the water's edge. It doglegs quite sharply to the right. Two bunkers sit in the corner of the right side of the fairway. They're ready to catch you. A stream runs along the right side of the fairway before turning round at the back of the green and into the lake on the right. Drive well left, aiming to land on the fairway between the bunkers, then a short pitch will see you home and dry. The 11th, a par 4, 421 yards, runs dead straight between heavily forested mounds. The fairway is quite narrow and is nearly divided in half by a large bunker intruding from the right. Drive down the left edge of the fairway, keeping clear of this bunker if you want to stay out of trouble. Two more bunkers sit either side of the green. The worst of these lies on the right-hand side, so play for the left portion of the green. The 13th is a par 5 of 527 yards, and the hole runs as straight as a die through an avenue of trees, really thick trees. There's more trouble on the left than there is on the right, so playing from the tee, remember the wind could affect the ball here. If you have to miss the fairway, go up the right. There's less trouble up there. Two bunkers sit either side of the fairway as it approaches the green. Two good shots will leave you a fairly short pitch using a 8 or 9 iron. A good one will see you well placed on the green. The 15th is another good, strong par 4 of 467 yards and continues the straight theme of this course. Again, the stream follows the right edge up to the green, which sits between this hole's 3 bunkers. Drive up the left edge of the fairway if you can. The trees in front of the path are quite thinly spread. If you're short in 2, the pitch to the green could well be the hardest shot you'll face because it's difficult to get the ball to stay on the green. Aim between the 2 bunkers. The second is a par 5 of 511 yards divided into 2 halves by a stream. There are 2 bunkers on the left, but the main hazard is the large bunker on the right. Drive down the left side if you can to avoid this. Try not to worry about the stream. Second shot should prove a lot easier. There are 2 bunkers protecting either side of the green. Play over the left-hand bunker, use a wood or a long iron and try to aim for the front edge of the green. Beware though, the green slopes off towards the rear. The 4th hole is a 321-yard par 4 with quite a hazardous array of bunkers. The first 2 sit either side of the middle of the fairway. The second 2 are up either side of the green. The bunkers come in slightly, so aim just left using your driver. A good one should give you just a short pitch onto the green. The green itself is quite large and undulating, so although fairly easy to hit, is less forgiving when it comes to the putting. The 6th, another par 4, 332 yards, and for the mighty hitters, well, they could have a chance of reaching this green, but 2 bunkers run diagonally across the fairway from right to left, preventing a really clear run into the green. They sit in a gully which encourages your ball to roll in towards them. If you can, drive slightly right of centre, aiming to roll past the right-hand bunker, then you're left with just a small pitch up to the green. Simple. The 8th, another par 4, 372 yards this time. It's quite straight but features 3 deep and very large bunkers. 2 of them jut into the fairway from the right. The largest of the traps starts halfway down the left side of the fairway before running around the left side of the green. If you can, drive slightly left of centre to avoid the intrusion of that bunker on the right. Then pitch onto the large, flattish green. But take care, look where the pin is positioned. You could be left with a long putt. The 10th, a par 3 of 213 yards that lies on the right bank of a large lake. 3 bunkers are set evenly around the green. The rightmost bunker is very large and swings in front of the green, so drive slightly left of this to the front edge and you'll be as safe as houses. Twelfth hole, a par 3, 258 yards. 2 bunkers here. The largest follows the right side of the fairway. The other sits on the left and intrudes slightly up the fairway and towards the green. The green sits in a natural amphitheatre which is heavily wooded. Aim up the right side of the green if you can. The 14th is another long, straight hole, a par 4 of 482 yards. A stream runs all along the whole right edge. The first bunker intrudes from the left about halfway down the fairway. You've got to stop short of this. The next bunker covers the left rear edge of the green. For your second shot, you'll be hitting a 3 or 4 wood, hit over the fairway bunker to the middle front of the green. The 16th is a lakeside par 3 of 246 yards. There is a large clear area in front of the green, which if you're not too sure of having a cut at it, you can land in there. The green itself is quite small and offers no particular putting hazards. Better to aim slightly to the right, but there are 2 bunkers likely to come into play, so watch out, don't get your fingers burnt. Final hole, a par 5, 502 yards. A stream follows the right side as well as 3 bunkers. The first bunker comes early in the piece on the left-hand side. The next 2 are in front of the green, so you've got trouble left and right. The left-hand one is the largest and deepest, almost a golfer's nightmare. Drive down the middle if you can, with a slight bias to the right. This will leave you in a good position for your second shot. Big hitters might reach this green with a long iron, but it'll take a good one. Aim down the center and trust in the Lord. The second hole is a hilltop par 3 of 191 yards, and I tell you what, it undulates madly around and about the green, dropping into 2 deep bunkers, one set in the front of the green and the other on the left. Use a long iron from the tee, aiming slightly left of center. The third runs back down the hill, a par 4, 480 yards. A thick forest runs all along the left-hand side. This is mounty country. There are 3 bunkers, 2 on the right of the fairway. The third intrudes into the left corner of the green. Drive down the middle of the fairway, avoiding the right-hand bunker. Use at least a 2-iron and play your second shot towards the right edge of the green. The fifth, 423 yards of par 4, and the forest crowds in on the left and right. A large bunker sits left of the fairway near the green, and another bunker lies behind the green. From the tee, drive along the right edge. This will leave you a good position from where you'll hit a mid to long iron into the green, which is small. Beware. The 7th, a par 5 of 516 yards, and it runs sharply downhill to the very edge of the large lake. A big bunker is on the left of the fairway halfway down. 2 more bunkers bracket the small raised and undulating green. From the tee, try and drive straight down the middle of the fairway. A good second shot with a wood or a long iron should set you up nicely for a small pitch into the green. Again, aim for the middle. The 9th, 215 yards of par 3, and we're halfway through this lovely course that lies on the promontory between 2 lakes. One lake sits behind the trees, the other hugs the back of the green. The hole has only 2 bunkers, the first left of the fairway just in front of the trees, the second near the green up on the right. A long iron or a 5 wood should get you to the green. Play up the left side if you can, go easy on the power if you don't want to go through the green into the water. But we don't want that, do we? The 11th, a riverside par 4 of just 287 yards, so it's possible to reach the green, but it will require a lot of accuracy to stay on the green, which is well protected. There are 3 bunkers. The first sits on the right, just up there in front of the tee. The next sits midway in front of the green, making the approach shot very difficult. The 3rd bunker is on the left. From the tee, drive down the left side over that patch of rough that protrudes into the fairway. Aim for the front edge of the green. The 13th is a riverside par 3 of 199 yards, and it requires a great deal of accuracy. The green is very small and difficult to find. A large deep bunker sits on the front of it. Another smaller bunker lies behind to the right. Use a long iron or a little wood from the tee. Try if you can to aim to the left side of the green. The 15th hole is a short par 4 of 285 yards, and it takes us back away from the river towards the hills. The green on this hole is slightly raised, and a bunker lies to the right rear, and believe you me, it's quite deep. Another 2 bunkers sit left and right of the green approach. From the tee, drive a little left for the best possible shot into the green. This long par 5, 561 yards, snakes a meandering path, swinging first right and then left towards the green. It has 4 very difficult bunkers. The first set away on the right as the fairway bends, the second on the left where the fairway changes direction again. The final 2 sit either side of the fairway near the approach to the green.
From the tee, drive over the first bunker, aiming slightly left. This will set you up nicely for your second shot towards the green. Plenty of room up there, and you'll only have a short pitch onto this relatively large green. The fourth is a par 4, 326 yards, and it sits beside a small lake at the top of a high mound. It's a difficult tee shot as the landing area is well covered by two very deep bunkers, forcing you to lay up short or to take on a bunker shot. You can have a cut at it, but it really isn't worth the trouble. Use a 2-iron or a 5-wood from the tee, play for position, then you're left with a pitching wedge or 9-iron. Chip it if you can towards the right side of the green. The sixth is a short par 4 of 297 yards, and it sits between large wooded mounds and has two large deep bunkers set either side of the small fairway. You need a lot of accuracy here and a very steady hand. Ignore these bunkers if you can and drive straight for the middle of the green. Go on, go for it. The eighth hole is a par 4 of 407 yards that sits at the bottom of the valley next to the two lakes that lie to the right. A large bunker covers the landing zone from the right, and this forces you to play to the left, or indeed play safe, lay up short. If you do, you'll need something like a 4 or 6 iron, aiming to the left side. Beware of the greenside bunkers. The 10th is a par 4 of 384 yards, a dogleg to the left round the hillside to the green, which overlooks the river. The hill is heavily forested, so you can't really cut the corner. Instead, aim up the fairway, but as close to the corner as you feel able. This will put you in a position for a nice shot into the green. There's a small bunker on the right side of the fairway and another sited to the left of the green. A nice short par 4. The 12th hole is a par 5 of 503 yards that runs along the river. This forms a hazard that runs down the right side of the hole for its entire length. In addition to this, there are 3 bunkers to avoid. The first cuts into the fairway from the right near the landing area for your opening drive. Another just there in front of the green. The third and final bunker to the left of the green approach. From the tee, try and drive slightly left of centre to keep out of trouble. For the second shot, well, it's still a long way. Long iron or a 4 or 5 wood, aim to the left centre of the green.
The 14th, 443 yards of par 4, which follows the river that runs along the entire right side of the hole. From the tee, drive down a central line along the fairway. Beware the bunker on the right. That one could easily catch your tee shot. There's another bunker on the left of the green, so it's not going to be all that easy. There's plenty of room for the second shot, so don't be afraid, but on the other hand, be careful. If you go too far, the green is backed by water. The 16th hole, 230 yards of par 3, featuring a very small green, which is hard to find. There are two bunkers, one on the right, well out of play, the other lies in front of the green, just on the left-hand side. From the tee, well, aim down the left if you can, towards that green side bunker. If you take 4 here, it's not really a disaster. The 18th, the final hole, 400-yard par 4 that doglegs slightly to the right. Lots of trees on the hillside on the right, hides the green from the tee. There are two bunkers set either side of the green. From the tee, aim slightly right of the left-hand bunker. That will leave you just a short to medium iron to the green. The first hole on this mountainous course is a par 5 of 556 yards that runs down the hillside. A thick forest runs along the hillside. I tell you what, it's rugged around here. There are also 5 bunkers to contend with. The first of these are on the left-hand side. The other 4 cluster up near the green. Drive up the right side from the tee if you can. You've still got a long shot to the green, so a fairway wood will be needed. Try and keep it straight.